Oh my goodness. Hey everybody, it's me, Viva CPS Scholar. And I hope everybody is happy, blessed, and loved. And I'm doing a special video today with my buddy Jay Moore from In Perspective TV, way from Chi Town. I was teasing him that I need to go to Chi Town, even though Jesse make us want to run away from it. Um, I've been watching Love is Blind, and they made Chicago look amazing and have lots of amazing tourist spots and places to go with lots of water and good things. So here's Jay Moore from Chi Town. You want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Well, been here in Chicago my whole life. I'm about ready to move. I'm ready to because I'm sick of the weather. But the city has taught me a lot. There's some trauma that comes along with it. We talk about cities that are marginalized in terms of housing and stuff like that. This is kind of like Chicago was the definition of that. But I learned a lot. Ready for the next chapter of my life. I like the big city, but I want to kind of get somewhere else. I've been kind of here. My political background, kind of what led me to kind of have these open conversations and stuff like that, and how I'm starting to build up In Perspective TV. So make sure y'all check that out.
Yes.
In Perspective TV on YouTube and on Instagram. So I like to make connections like this, and no matter where you're from, I was always taught Chicago has taught me to approach everybody in a decent manner and to also be approachable.
So, yes. Okay.
So I started this thing, Sepia Scholar.
Yes.
Yes. So that's why I'm here.
Yes. Yeah. So my channel is mostly reactions, reviews, because I have a lot to talk about, and I want to get out there. And I also love having grown-up conversations. So that's the motto for my channel is what we learn in today. So I kind of do the reviews, and then I throw in a little bit of knowledge in there. I thought it was super awesome that you had experience with Cabrini Green. There's this book that I'm gonna do a review on. I can't wait till you see that review. It's in there. Not in a great way, but I got kind of thrown off on what the heck the book was. I thought, you find our stuff on Instagram and TikTok, and I can't wait for you to see it. But today our topic is going to be the Manosphere. So I do watch some of the stuff you post, so I know this is going to be interesting. So I have a lot of stuff to go through. Anybody who comes to my channel and watches my chat, no, I'm a graphics girl. That's the way I remember what I'm going to say. So let's get into this. So I wanted to start off. What does the Manosphere mean to you?
I guess the Manosphere is kind of a place where the imaginary circumference where all the ideals of what a man is and how we think and how we tick, I think we operate in that sphere. And when you talk about, let me just speak about black men. We talk about black men. For me, coming from the city where I come from, we operate here in a certain type of manosphere, and there's levels to it.
All right. I'm listening. Y'all say we don't listen, I'm listening.
There are people, like I said, I'm always approachable, but I operate in different spaces, so there's some gentlemen I operate with that I didn't operate with 20 years ago. And there's some people I grew up with that they ain't on nothing. So like I'm cool, but they not operating in my space. So I kind of think the Manosphere is kind of like a space like that. And I think sometimes we step out of that space to maybe get married, Be the one.
You need to maybe get married. Okay, you got to step out of the manosphere to get married.
But I think sometimes the manosphere is like one of them places where we kind of like recharge and reset, and then we step out and try to maybe get into the world.
Okay, so you see it like a support system.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, my experience of the manosphere is different. I'm gonna pull up the definition of manosphere. I'm gonna show you what it says, and then I'm gonna tell you what Wikipedia says and why. We're gonna get to the point where I'm like, oh, the manosphere might be in trouble, and then you can let me know what you think, right? So let's talk about what the manosphere is via the dictionary. Right? So it says websites and blogs where men express opinions about issues concerning contemporary masculinity and male relationships with women, especially those associated with views that are hostile to feminism and women's rights. And then I went on Wikipedia. It got worse. It got worse on Wikipedia. I did recognize some of the names, but it says the manosphere is a collection of websites, blogs, and online forums promoting masculinity, misogyny, and strong opposition to feminism. Communities within manosphere include MGTOW, men's rights activists, incels, which is involuntary celibates, pickup artists, and fathers' rights groups. So I guess all those men, I mean, they're men, and those different ideals are considered the manosphere. And so my experience with the manosphere, I'm going to put up some of the all-stars from the manosphere. Let me know if you reckon. We're going to talk about what you think about these folks. We don't know these people in real life, but
Kevin.
Yes. Well, Kevin, you know, he's the godfather, right? So the guy, the bald-headed guy with the beard, I have to think of that. This guy I would never talk to. The guy with the bald head and the beard, he is, I'm going to call out names on this, alpha male strategy. So I'm going to admit something that I don't admit to much people. I used to live my life, get my life, watching this man's videos on how to pick up women and seeing if he was actually right or wrong. So he was my first delve into the manosphere, and it was crazy to see all the young guys that he had in his comments that were looking to him on how to deal with women, how to date, how to get women with the least amount of effort, like how basically not wasting any too much non-sexual time with a woman because it'll cause them to like lose respect for you and stuff. But the other side was he really told those young dudes to be purpose driven, because if you're purpose driven, the women will come. And the other thing he used to always say, I used to like giggle at, is if a woman gets out of pocket, you make her earn her way back. So I used to sit and watch, I used to live my best life in the manosphere watching this guy. And then we have Kevin Samuels in the middle. He's an image consultant, but he's definitely coming up in the world to make the manosphere mainstream. And then them two Negroes on the right. Those two. I ain't even gonna call their name, but what do you think about these folks and some of the ideals that they kind of put out there? Like, how are you familiar with them?
Well, the first guy, I've seen him a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
These last two, I don't know them. Kevin is kind of the one that I've been watching from throughout, because I remember he was posting stuff that were geared towards men 3, 4, 5 years ago, and no one was paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Once he geared it towards women, now we latch on. I think where the confusion comes in, I'm gonna just speak on Kevin because that's what I follow.
Yeah, go for it.
The confusion when it comes to Kevin is some of the women I watch, they don't like either what he's saying or how he's saying it, and I think sometimes it gets misconstrued.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at it, let's just talk about the manosphere. Now, where the manosphere to me is like an imaginary thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's not really, it's there, but it's not there. Mm-hmm. So,
like meta.
Where society, all over society, women can operate wherever. TV, daytime TV, cable, There are a bunch of different women's rights groups. Like where I'm from, soon 2 or 3 black males try to get together and do something, it gets torn down. So women are not torn down by society like how the black man is, especially in urban areas. So you have more spaces to operate. Okay. So I think when Kevin tries to expose that and explain that, it hurts, it hits hard, and people can't take it. But it's the truth. Maybe he comes off abrasive, maybe his tone or something like that. Okay, I'll give you that part. But in terms of the foundation of what he's talking about, it's a lot of truth to it. And no one has been talking about it. But so with the minute, like he was talking about that stuff when he was gearing his platform towards men, not as many followers, not as many people tuning into it, not as big a platform. The minute he flipped the switch and went towards women, it's
controversy, right?
Yeah, it's huge. It's interesting though.
Yeah, no, what I get from him, I'll tell you the stuff that I like and what I don't like, and then we could talk about the 2 little dudes that's down on the side. Those with him, every once in a while I have a friend that sends me his lives, and I jump in there and I like watch and everything. One thing I do agree with him on is the fact that people kind of are delusional in how they feel like they're going to build generational wealth without being married. I totally agree with that completely. I agree a lot of times when he's trying to make these young ladies understand that, although you might be scared to commit, because he had a whole show about why you guys scared to be married. I have a feeling I know why people are scared, why the women are scared to be married, and I'm sure men are going to tell us why they're scared to be married. Yeah. But I've seen a few of those shows and I totally agreed. And then you saw that video I did with the dating apps or whatever. I do believe that there is a desirability index. Do I think that black women are the least desirable? I don't agree with that, and I'm not saying because I'm a black woman. If you watch the whole video I did, it kind of boils down to how the whole structure is set up. Women are based on beauty, men are based on resources, and there's like a whole dynamic to it or whatever. So I agree with a lot of those things, but I think it's his delivery. Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a politically correct way to say this, but sometimes some of those women that go on that show, I'm wondering, and he's kind of nice to the ones that seem to be a little bit learning challenge. I don't know what, like they go out there, and I'm like, what is really happening here? Is there something delayed or? But he kind of tries to talk them through it. But I think it's not so much of him being toxic. I think a lot of the men who've latched on and try to kind of latched on and took him and like say protect him at all costs, and they argue against protecting black women, but they'll protect this dude. That part looks suspect to me.
Who argues? So these guys you talking about the bottom of the screen argue against protecting black women?
Yes. Especially those 2 dudes, they're fresh and fit. I'm gonna say their name.
Yeah, they trip.
Yeah, they always are. Like they really, really. That's why I looked at some of the stuff you posted. But they really, really. I'm gonna call them. They really, really glorify exoticals. They pretty much bring black women on their show to tear them down and prove why they're undateable. That's pretty much if you think Kevin is bad, which I know you don't. But if you've seen these 2 dudes, like there was a huge backlash. I'm sure they got views off of it, but their views are very. I mean, their actual views. They hide a lot of their colorist views behind preference, and that's a whole other.
They both. I don't want to be, I guess, prejudiced, but they both are they. So where are they from?
I believe the one dude is of African descent.
That's the
shorter dude.
Right.
And I want to say the other dude is Middle Eastern.
Right. So nobody. Anyway, go ahead.
I want to say he's Middle Eastern.
Go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
But what makes me angry is he literally there was this one girl on there who was arguing that because her grandmother was like 1/8 black, she did not present as a black woman, that she doesn't understand why people are upset with her using the N-word. He'll bring, like I said, I think it was Asian Doll. he'll bring darker skinned girls through there only to cuss them out. There's been people who showed up to shoot them, like in the studio. Like they're really wild. They're like the Jerry Springer of podcasts, but they get really, really crazy. But they're like the newer generation of the Manosphere, like newer generation. So they're different approaches. So I just wanted to highlight them a little bit and see if you were familiar with them and what you thought about all of that. I don't want to overtalk everything. What you thought about all that?
Yeah, I don't. I'm kind of curious, but what you're saying is true. I don't want to. I ain't got time. Everybody got time for that.
Yeah.
I think there's a line where you draw. See, the problem. I have a lot of female friends, and I got 5 sisters.
Right? Okay.
So you have to be asinine as a Black person, no matter where you're from on the planet, not to think it's not important to protect Black women. You got to be crazy, right? I don't even think Kevin agrees with that.
No, he doesn't.
I don't even think he agrees with that. So, but I think you have to draw that line. I think with some of my female friends, the problem I have with them is they got this thing in their mind. They say, well, all Negroes ain't shit. I asked one of my females, I said, how many guys have you dated? She gave me a number. I said, how many different zip codes were those guys in? 3 different zip codes. So she tell me, you've dated guys in 3 different zip codes and all niggas ain't shit? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
You're delusional.
Yeah, like, you can't do that.
There are Black men on every corner of this damn planet. I don't give a I live in New Hampshire where the population of Black folks is real small. There's a couple up there. So you never dated outside of your corner store in the hood, but you have a problem with all Black men. Notice all the Black men that you dated. And so that's goes to your point about why I think some of them are afraid because of the past experience of the people they dealt with, but you haven't got outside the box. So you get the same set of circumstances.
Have you heard about we're riding. Have you heard about the Exodus?
The who?
The Exodus, about encouraging Black women to date out the same way that men have been doing, because one of the things I saw is that basically Black men know that Black women prefer them. I mean, Chris Rock even told a joke that Black women prefer them. So it's like when you are the choice, I guess they like to say the prize, you feel more entitled to move how you want to because that's the pickings that you have. Like, have you heard that?
I hear it. I tend not to get wrapped up too much into that. But I think why that exists is because we have been going about dating the wrong way.
Ooh, enlighten me.
And I read a lot of. I'm a spiritual person, even more so now as I get older. And when you talk about spirituality, that's way totally different from religion, right? But if you look at any of these quote unquote good books, they give a few pointers on how to seek out a woman or how to seek out a man. And I'm just talking about Black folks. Black race, we ain't been doing it the correct way.
All right. And I want to know, what is the correct way according to you?
Well,
or the good book.
Whatever book that you read.
Exactly.
But I think sometimes we just like, okay, so I'm gonna just use for my female friends, for example. They didn't vet anybody. Like, you just hopped in the passenger seat, right? Went to the movies, Dave and Buster's, whatever, some popcorn, and had a baby.
Oh.
And now you're mad. Like,
they didn't get themselves pregnant.
But listen, what did you think was gonna happen? Now you got another baby daddy, so that's 2, right? And so the men too, on the flip side, the men too, like, you got all this baby mama drama. 3, 4, 5 kids, or maybe 2 kids, right? Maybe it's one baby mama giving you drama, but you didn't vet nobody. You didn't vet. It's like we out here dating for a good time, a Saturday night or a Friday night, a quick bump, and then we wonder why we had these issues. Now you tired of Black women. Now you tired of Black men.
Exactly.
Like, stop. You're doing it the wrong way. You've been going about it the wrong way. And so it goes back to what I talked about when I first came on is trauma, right? And so you can't continue to mask trauma with sleeping around with different men or sleeping around with different women, because men and women both do it, right? Mm-hmm. You can't continue to mask trauma in that fashion, because all you're doing is you're continuing a perpetual cycle.
Yeah,
that's all you're doing. And so Black women fed up with men and vice versa is because we've been doing it the wrong way. And that's a whole other subject. We can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But the foundation of that, you've been going about the wrong way. That's why you fed up. Now you want to date a white dude. But now you want his daddy.
But hold up. See, now you want to date a white dude.
But now you want to date a white woman. Either way.
When y'all hopping away with them snow bunnies, y'all telling us they.
But check this out. But check this out. And Kevin talks about it all the time. White women will assert themselves. And I've noticed it. And before I didn't pay attention. And I knew it, but I wasn't paying attention.
I think I like where you're going.
And I come from the political realm where in the political world, I'm going to just be straight up. Pussy is lined up on the platter. I hate to sound vulgar, but it's the truth.
Yes, go for it.
It's women everywhere. In the political world, like it's like a 7-to-1 ratio, right? And so, but I've noticed where some of the non-Black women, they assert themselves, they put themselves in a position where the Black men are, they put on their thinking caps because they want something, they see it, and they're going to make sure they do everything they can in their power to get it. And so I've noticed that. What I also noticed is,
I agree.
Once a Black woman gets fed up with the 1 or 2 dudes she was dealing with, you know what? I'm not going to assert. I want to assert myself the opposite way. I've noticed that. And so once again, that goes back to what I said. We've been doing it the wrong way.
But the thing is, when we assert ourselves, they say we're aggressive, we're masculine, we're being gold diggers. I've been around all races of women, and they're all taught hypergamy. They're all taught to go for resources. Yes.
Well, I agree with that, but I don't think when you assert yourself, there's like, depending on what you're doing it for, that determines if you're aggressive or not. You can't just say everyone that asserts themselves is always aggressive. That's such a broad statement. Because you don't know every situation, you don't know what people's intentions are. But in terms of just the dating market, I've noticed other non-Black women, they will put themselves in the front of whatever venue it is. To make themselves noticeable and to seek out what they're looking for.
You're totally right.
They're watching, white women are watching Love and Hip Hop Nebraska, whatever this shit is. I don't know. They watching this stuff and they seeing the drama and they seeing the foolishness. Like, you know what? I'm gonna bring Chocolate Man on over here to Milk and Cow Country, and we gonna make this thing happen. So they plotting. Yeah, they're plotting on the trauma and the ridiculousness of Black folks. There's no way that shit should be on TV. But you wonder why we got problems? Like, stop.
That is so funny. I just did a video about Jocelyn and her shenanigans, but it's definitely that they about to hit those pockets. But yeah, I agree, because I just went to like an outing, and there were these 2 ladies. And they literally had the whole dress on, everything together, and they were working that venue. They knew what they were there for, and they just kept working the room. We're watching them. They're going in circles. We're watching them. We they know what they came here for. They were working that venue. They had. I don't think they saw the concert, because they were working that venue and making sure they were seen in that venue or whatever. So. And that's really good insight.
I've been in venue, and I started working in politics at an early age, and so they gave me access to a lot of stuff that the normal 15-year-old or 16-year-old wouldn't have access to. So I remember vividly, I was 17, 16, getting into clubs, back wasn't that long ago, but back then, you can get away with that type of stuff. And I remember being in some of the big prominent clubs in Chicago, and some Black women, like, they sitting there chilling, like they got all the fucking honey in the world that the bees gonna come to, but you got vinegar all over your breath.
Oh.
Right? And it's like, you got a type of attitude, like, ain't nobody gonna, I'm gonna keep it real. When you in that type of setting, some black men, they'll deal with that shit because they can probably get a quick hit or, maybe got a new friend. But in the long term, they're not gonna deal with that shit. What's gonna happen is you're gonna end up pregnant and then you're gonna wonder why the shit's sour. You had the vinegar breath in the club thinking you was the shit, and you didn't search yourself then. You thought everybody's gonna come to you. So this thing is all upside down. We all been going about it the wrong way.
Okay, so based on what you're saying, assert means basically go for what you want, right?
Go for what you want, but also vet.
Yeah.
Don't just, you have to really vet people. You have to really, and it's funny because sometimes I go on these dating apps just to read stuff. I don't even be on there doing nothing. And with the women, because of course I'm not looking for no men, but the women, it's always the same shit in the bio. Now, technology has come about in the last 7 to 8 years and then with COVID, where we've been forced to kind of go on dating apps. Now you want to vet people. But you had 20 years to do that shit.
Yeah, they be vetting the hell out of people now.
Yeah, it's backwards. It's all backwards.
Because you can just swipe. Remember, like I told you that video that you were teasing me out about calling me Sepia Samuels. But that's literally what people are doing. They're literally going on there like, that I love it.
You should have been doing that. You should have been doing that 5-6 years ago. But I think we all be so anxious for compassion and anxious just to have somebody around.
Yeah.
Because I've been single 8 years. By design.
That's a long time.
For a long time. And I ain't gonna lie, I had a few people that
yeah.
A couple one-nighters here and there because I'm a man. Like, who goes 8 years without sex? It's not gonna happen. I mean, it can happen, but it's just not natural. But anyway, so sometimes it gets lonely. Like, if my kid's not here, even when my kids are here, they ain't thinking about my ass.
Especially if they're older.
Right. So it does get lonely. By our human DNA, it was made up for us to match with someone. The opposite sex. That's just scientific DNA. So I just think we need to follow some of that scientific stuff, and we need to start vetting people and start to just relax and not let that trauma get to us where we got to be around somebody and we'll deal with you dealing with drama because that motherfucker don't match with you.
Yeah, they don't match.
They don't match with you. You move too soon.
Yep.
So
and make that soul tie, and then it's all mess. It's all mess. It's
once
all
you
mess.
Exchange that sexual energy and them juices, and who knows where it goes from there.
Yeah, but some people act like they can exchange those juices and it doesn't mean anything. But I know that's a lie.
It's a lie.
You're bonded, even if you're acting like you're not, you totally are. So.
And if you go in raw, even if you don't catch nothing, you're exchanging energy at the highest level because they know.
Yes.
That's why protection is important, even for diseases.
Cool them.
But like that they call it a rubber for a reason. That blocks out energy that you don't need. I'm teaching my kids that, like, it's so important for diseases too, but you're exchanging juices.
I giggle a little bit on that one because I had it kind of threw me off. I have a friend who said that it doesn't count as a body if you use a rubber or whatever. And then there was another girl who's like, I was shocked that she said, she's like, yeah, that's right.
A female said that?
And I'm like, what?
A female said that. You talk about men are out here women bashing and anti-feminism. Stop it. Stop.
You'd be surprised what we talk about. I was just like, what the hell are you talking about?
So contradictory to how y'all, not you, but how some women bash black men under the.
Let me tell you, I hear the wildest. Let me tell you, I hear the wildest of things. I don't agree. And that oral sex is not sex. It doesn't count. It was all types of wild stuff being said. But I was just like, you know what? I don't know what the hell y'all talking about. That's not what I believe. And
but you got some men. You got some men that think that oral sex is just a thing where it don't count. Like Negro. I know you didn't wear no condom. And You talk about catching something, it'll come from the mouth first before it comes in.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Get halitosis of the. I'm just teasing.
Between the mouth and the hands, those are the two dirtiest places on the body.
Exactly. So it's super crazy. Let me switch up the folks. Let's talk about the other camp.
So before you move on, you mentioned about something I posted.
Yes.
What was that?
I did.
Let's get it out the way now.
I don't want to fall out with you.
Yeah, get it out the way. Get it out the way. Let's address it. Because it could be.
I mean, it's getting really, really, and it's a trigger, and it's a trigger for a reason. It's always a trauma, because I was with an individual who always harped on this, and it just worked my damn nerves. Not me in particular. It was the post about Black women's hair. Like, I get really irritated about Black women's hair being policed. I guess he did a similar argument. I'm not a big wig wearer. I wear some hair now. I wear some hair, but for particular reasons, I don't do the wigs really.
So let's address that.
I'm not gonna tell you what my problem was, but we can address it.
Okay, go ahead.
No. So it's the policing of the hair, like the logic that basically he passed on a message that Black women shouldn't have a problem with white women wearing box braids and cornrows because we wear our hair straight and we wear wigs. Everybody wears wigs. It's not a white or Black thing. One. Two, the main reason we have the issue with the box braids and the cornrows, because when we were wearing it, somebody just told me the Crown Act has passed, so you can't be judged on your hair, but who knows? But we were judged. We weren't even allowed. If you had braids that went to your head, it was against policy. People were getting kicked out of school for their hair. And then you have, I'm going to use them, Bo Derek, Kim Kardashian, they stroll through and now it's high fashion. No, we're not here for it at all. And as for the straight hair, Black women come in all shades of the rainbow and all textures of hair. So there are Black women with straight hair. But I did giggle because I saw the pat. But I'm like, people's scalp just be itching sometimes. But I do agree with the beauty supply store because we do not own majority of them. We do not.
So
I'll stop there.
Yeah. So you done?
I'm done.
Okay. So everybody's my scalp itch, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times our scalp itch for reasons that we're not even aware of, right? I've been researching that. But anyway, you're gonna break your neck to spend $300 for somebody who's probably not even Black to sit there and smack yourself in the head for hours on end throughout the day. There's something wrong with that picture, right? So stop there. You leave that alone, okay, for whatever reason. My biggest issue is with it. My biggest issue is the economics behind it. That's my biggest issue, right? People been wearing wigs since the days of Ramses III. Yeah. So I understand that. But my biggest thing is the economics behind it, and then how we kind of handle ourselves, Black women, because I mean, it's a women thing. How we handle ourselves in public. With the different hairstyles and how we come out. It's like, come on, like it ain't no pajama jam at high school. Like you outside, the wig is twisted, you got the damn cap game banging, you got the pajamas on, see your kid at school. Like, come on.
I agree. So, I threaten my children with I tell them if they don't do their work or if they don't act right, I'm like, I'm gonna be the mom that shows up with a ratchet wig and a bonnet, embarrass the hell out of y'all real quick.
Because I would never I'll wear do-rags, right? Because some textures of do-rags are not natural. Some of them got a lot of food color in there. So when I always check guys on there, I said before you check a female, keep in mind some of the things we do too is not good for our hair. Right. So I look at it both ways. I ain't biased. But I'm not never gonna show up, to no public setting with the damn do-rag on, right?
Yes.
I ain't never been a fan of having my pants on my ass, showing my drawers. Like to me, if you're not homosexual, why your ass showing? Right. So I look at it all different ways, and it's more so I have a problem with the economics behind it, and then it's just like some of these women that wear the different hairstyles and the different hair, how they act in public. And then the crazy part is, I can understand, I understand people who got, different hair issues and maybe a former cancer patient.
Yeah, the alopecia is real.
Yeah, so I get it. But for some of y'all who got y'all hair and too lazy to stop, wear your natural hair more often.
Listen, let me tell you. I'm not gonna. I had to go natural because I had really thick, long, like a texture of hair. But after my children, the hormones changed it up, and then putting the relaxer in my hair literally set my scalp
on fire,
ablaze. And what I run into is that you guys are screaming natural hair, not you, the proverbial you guys are screaming natural hair, but you guys don't always uplift it. You guys don't always uplift natural hair.
We don't.
So
more so now, like, but not in the last 10 years. Yeah.
And then like one of the podcasts that I'm a fan of, and I'm really cool with the people on there. He said he just want a regular girl who's not all on the Instagram, not doing all the hair, the makeup. Y'all say that, but y'all follow those girls. Y'all like their stuff.
Bad decisions.
They're getting rich.
Bad decisions. That's what men do.
Yeah. But can we be pretty too? Shit. Like I'm like, can we get judged a little bit? I do see the makeup go too far though. I do see it go too far.
So I think with me, I can only speak for me right now in this instance. A lot of guys be talking that natural shit and they just be talking. Like me, I live by that. Like 99%, 100% of the shit in my house, in terms of what I consume, especially food. I can't grow a whole lot in the wintertime, but I grow stuff. Like none of what I eat got more than 4 or 5 ingredients. I don't eat meat. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about natural, when I talk about natural, I'm really on that. And everybody know it. And so what I think, men, we just sometimes want women in their natural state. We know sometimes you're gonna dress yourself up, and maybe go out like this and go out like that, and that's cool. But like my kid's mom, she rarely wore makeup, and that's what drew me to her. So when I talk like that, I live by it. Like I don't, like you said, how guys go out here and chase women with all of that. They denounce it, but they go out and chase all this. They're looking for a quick fling or whatever, so they go chase that. Me, I don't. Nah, that's not my thing. So yeah, I just.
All right, Jason, say no to all the unnatural stuff. Growing, I just bought some seeds the other day. Side note, to start to grow things with the kids. So definitely getting into that.
Right.
So with that being said, I wanted to talk about the other side. I'm calling them the other camp. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'll use the word that people call them. They call them sims. They say they pander to women. All this other stuff. I'm gonna say something quick about each one of them, and then you can jump in. And what my thoughts on Steve Harvey? He wrapped up with that thing, like act like a lady, think like a man, and the 90-day rule. And I definitely said this on another video. That was just the rules that had already came out, dressed up with a black person in the front of it. To me,
right.
And he's on Family Feud. He's running around on he has his own court show, and his relationships have been hot mess. Other than Miss Marjorie, who know how to get a bag, he makes sure he get a bag. He'll tell you he gets a bag to keep her because she's a high standard woman, right? But I don't think he's the best on giving advice. I mean, I take advice. The messenger is what it is. I am a fan of Tony Gaskins. Sometimes he be going left, but I'm a big fan of him. He's doing it more from a biblical standpoint, but he used to write books and stuff back in the day. And I appreciate what he got going on. But people always say, hey, you were all for Derrick Jackson. I was never here for Derrick Jackson. I was never here for him. Everybody thought he was fine and all this crazy stuff. I was told that the messenger needs to look good in order for women to receive it. That man looked good, and I still didn't receive it. I didn't trust it. I didn't believe it. And when he went out there and embarrassed the hell out of his wife while she sat on there with her, what did she call it? The bonnet of armor, and praising the Lord that they stay together and everything, and putting crazy homoerotic poems on the damn internet because she all devastated. You got to see this shit. You know, if you think I'm lying, go look for yourself. Go look for yourself. They have their problems too.
Yes.
So I can see that there's problems on both sides or whatever. So what do you think? Jumping, I done said some crazy stuff. Everything is alleged. I don't know these people in real life. But go ahead.
So I'm gonna just be straight up. With me, these last two dudes don't even know these cats.
Oh, right? Look, see, you need a.
My mind would be in a different place. So a lot of this stuff, I can only take so much because like everybody got a podcast now, and I ain't hating, but I kind of focus on the people I can focus on. Steve Harvey, of course, I know him. He's been around a long time. We kind of grew up on him. But I'm a different type of dude. Like, I watch a lot of interviews and a lot of documentaries that are probably not about dating. And it's not that I don't want to learn. It's just a lot to take in. So a lot of these guys that are in this manosphere or in this realm of dating relationships, you know, black men and black women and vice versa, a lot of that stuff I don't really indulge in. So, but Steve, I'm gonna just talk about Steve for a second.
Yeah, let's talk about Steve. But wait, before you say something about Steve, these are the dudes that they accuse of being that word I think they use way too much. They call these guys the simps.
The simps, okay. I'll probably be guilty of simping if that's what it, I mean, I don't know.
Boys and men say simping ain't easy, but let's talk about
define simp real quickly, briefly.
Listen, I would go into it, but I have a whole video I'm gonna put out. But like I said, I'm reviewing books too. But my definition of a simp, at least from when I hear people using it, I'm not gonna say this is my definition. I hear people using it for anybody that does anything remotely nice for a woman. It's always called simping. So I don't even know the definition all the way. I'm reading this book. Shout out to Joe Casey. He's doing simpology. That's the one I'm going to review. But when I hear simp, they're always using it against a dude that does something. But to me, a simp is a dude that is doing all that stuff and they have no hope of being romantically involved with that woman, or the woman is dogging them out and they keep putting in resources. But every time I hear the guys talking about it, it's just so every time a man does something, it's simping. Took you on a date, stop simping. Gave you flowers, stop simping. Like, are we gonna do any courting? I mean, let me be quiet. Let me let you talk.
Yeah, simping is when it doesn't reciprocate. Simping is when it doesn't reciprocate, and you know this chick just playing. So yeah, that's what it is. But so Steve has been on the forefront of mainstream media for the last 30 years or better. And he's a media personality when it comes down. I know the foundation of who he is a comedian, and he had a TV show, whatever. But he's a media personality, which is why he's able to do all these different things and be here and be there and be everywhere, right? So he's had some failed relationships like we all have, and but when it comes down to it, he goes with what sells.
Okay.
Right? Go with what sells. He's gonna go with what makes money. And he's gonna go with what triggers the masses because he has a following. And so you gotta understand, at one point, I think at the same time that book was coming out, Steve owed the IRS $25 million and was facing jail.
He said, "Let me get that bag."
Yeah. So this stuff is by design. You got a team of lawyers around him, a team of people around him say, "Hey, you need to come up with some money." And he said on one of his interviews, like, "Man, I was out here hustling. I was doing everything I could. I went back into '96 Steve Harvey, and so I think around the time when that book came, that's when he owed that big money to the IRS, and they was like he couldn't miss a payment, So that shit came on time, and I'm sure he had some heart in it. At the end of the day, that stuff sells. What's and then what transpired from that book was 2 or 3 movies that came after that.
I actually enjoy the movies. They're funny to me, but
the story writes itself.
Literally,
the story writes itself.
But I think go ahead.
No, I'm done. That's what I think about that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really.
No, he definitely parlayed it into I mean, and the funny thing is, people ask why women go to Kevin Samuels. They like going and being told. You have to think about it. Women are naturally lean towards education. We want to learn. That's why we have so many degrees. So if we can find a way to figure out that Rubik's Cube of dating and love, we're like, okay, you guys say we don't listen, but that's how you guys are rich. Because we're going to you guys to try to listen to figure out why you guys won't commit to us. We trying to. And then we turn around and you're like, oh, you guys aren't listening. These people are spending all this money. I'm not saying men aren't doing it because they're paying pickup artists, right? To learn how to get women. So why are we paying other people to try to get to each other? Hence what you're saying that we all do it all wrong, right? So.
Yep.
So we're going to move on for the reason that me and you even decided to go live with this.
What was the reason? I don't even know.
I'm about to remind you. Your face is going to be covered on some of these parts, and my face is going to be covered too. But do you remember this picture?
I don't. Dude look kind of familiar on the right, but remind me.
Okay. So I posted a story with this picture with these 2 young people. This is Anitra Gunn and DeMarcus Little. And what happened was it was Valentine's Day, and he says according to him, he poured his heart out to her, was talking to her, trying to tell her how he felt about her, how much he loved her, and she ended up laughing in his face. And he's like, I don't know what happened, bruh. I just blacked out and I hit her. So the headline that they put out there was that she got killed on Valentine's Day for laughing in a man's face. That's not really the story that happened, but that was what was put out there. So I remember posting this to my story, and you were like, man, that's wild. And we were like, okay, let's do a show about that or whatever. Or I said, I'll do a show on it. And you were like, okay, let's jump on and do it. You probably don't remember because we go back and forth a lot and we comment on each other's stuff. But that was the story. And I got a lot of people in my DMs when I posted that because it was a crazy story. So I just wanted to go through kind of the reactions that happened. I have a few comments I want to put up, and then we could talk about the different reactions between men and women. But basically what it boiled down to is he supposedly poured his heart out, and she laughed in his face, and he ended up killing her. So there was 2 sides of it. Let's go through the comments real quick. I'll make this super fast because I don't want to keep you all night.
I'm good.
Okay. So, I'll ride out now. Don't you ain't got to tell me twice.
I work from home. I clock in from my phone in the morning.
So this is the real post that set it off. You might remember this one. So this guy said maybe he was just having a bad day, looking for a soft shoulder to cry on, and it was another rock. He decided that he had had enough and killed her. Ladies, let this be a lesson that we will never be equal, because you can't ever beat a man in rage, and for this fact, choose respect. This man was an Army sergeant, probably suffering from PTSD. You want men all in their feelings, and want a man that shows his feelings are hurt. Most wars are started over feelings, like Bush and Saddam, weapons of mass destruction never found, 911. So that's what.
All over the place.
Yeah, he was all over the place. But he said feelings. So let's see. And so that set off a storm, boy. That set off a storm that he even That set off a storm. I'm about to show some more responses, but basically the post that got put out was the picture of the two people. They said she laughed in his face, and then this response, and women were like, "What the hell?" And then men were like, "See, you can't mess with a man's feelings." And I did have one man tell me, we have feelings too, and I'm like, dang, a bitch had to die? Like, that's crazy as hell. Because you have feelings. So let's go through some of the responses, and you can speak whenever you want, but let's go through some of the responses. I just want you to see the different sides of the coin of the response to this man posting this. So this guy, he might be my hero, but I truly detest this antiquated idea that women exist to coddle men's hurt feelings, that women should mend broken hearts, or that someone is entitled to anyone else in this way. You're absolutely correct. This toxicity is unfair to women and only perpetuates harm and abuse. And somebody loves him because he's like, the lady said, "I'm glad you understand." So let's hide that one. I read fast, so this will work. Another lady was like, "Men are not okay these days, but they say we are too emotional." And then some guy jumps on. He was all in the comments. "This lady dissed him while confessing his love. She LOL in his face after she knew he was depressed, but it's his fault. Wow." So they're basically, some people thought she deserved to get harmed. Then we had this guy. This one, it's not a funny situation, but this one was kind of funny to me. Bro killed her. He didn't curse her out, F her best friend, slash her tires, call her name, egg her house, move on. He murdered her, took her life. This is at the very least not cool. So the way he responded was like, okay. And then the same guy came in and said, "Depression mixed with the intent to kill is a serial killer. Trust me, I've been there and I didn't kill anyone. Learn more about depression or whatever the real issue is first before you judge people. I know he's wrong, but I know he got his button pushed. I'm just saying." Then we had the ladies. He showed vulnerability and she laughed at him. What he did was extreme, but anybody would get angry. And then this chick got mad at this other chick. "You don't even know what you're talking about. So quick to defend men. Yuck." So she gathered that chick real quick. And then this is the last one. And it's going to lead to the last part of what we're going to talk about, and then we can ride from there, right? So framing it in this way, when she had broken things off months before he killed her, which this turns out to be true, is intentional and a damn bat signal to incels. Trying to paint him like some unappreciated lover instead of the psycho stalker and murderer that he is. Y'all ought to be ashamed. So there's a keyword in there, incels. So I'm bringing it all back around. So what do you think about the group of comments and the sides that people fell on?
Some of these people only saying shit like that because they behind the keyboard.
Exactly. Keyboard warriors.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. I don't even know. It's amazing how death, heinous death, can derive these conversations. Mm-hmm. I just don't understand it. You notice I was quiet the whole time. I don't get it. And yes, depression is real. Let me be the first to tell you, right? Depression is very real. PTSD is very real. You have to see a therapist. I know. I've been there. I ain't never tried to kill nobody. But I've had moments where I snapped out. I had moments where I went to blows with the police. Right? Like, and
I'm glad you're alive.
See, the difference is back when I was growing up, I only even had a gun put on me once. Police like to whoop ass back then. They ain't like to shoot nobody. It was different time. So had that been me in this time, I'd have been shot. But the point is, I had a lot of physical trauma going up off the top, right? And then I had mental trauma that I didn't even know about, I didn't even realize until I started bringing kids in the world, right? So we have to really, we talk about the black man and the black woman looking out for each other. It starts right there. Starts right there. And you have to be able, like I said, I got 5 sisters, right? And so what black men have to do when we're dealing with maybe a woman that has trauma if you're gonna help her in some type of way, then help her sincerely, right? Don't try to use that trauma against her to try to get in the draws or try to use her, because I've seen a lot of that. On the flip side, when there's a man going through the same type of trauma, don't smash it in his face, right? And so we have to really help each other at the core, and it starts right there. And if we can do that, what Kevin always talks about, how about prior to 1965, black people were married at an 80% rate. If we can get back to that, you'll see those numbers rise again, because we'll start helping each other with our trauma, right? And being sincere in that approach. Because if we're not sincere in that approach, shit like that'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll continue to happen.
Yeah, because femicide is super high. Like, so many people die at the hands of their partner, and people don't know how to process things emotionally, and it goes too far, and people get hurt. I had somebody very dear to me get killed in a domestic. Now I think about it, a few people that were very dear to me get killed at the hands of the people who supposedly love them. So we need to learn how to process those situations, and yeah, like that's when the internet turns toxic, because some people are egging it on. It doesn't make sense. If that was your family member, would you be like, oh yeah, she left? Okay, even if she left, even if they were still together, which they supposedly they weren't. The reason they even found the girl was because they felt like, I guess, the cell phone tower was pinging. But he basically went and picked his homeboy up for a ride and started telling the story.
And I want to, it's funny you say that. I want to know who their friends were. Because y'all knew how she was, and y'all knew what he was struggling with. Y'all should have checked that shit in the door.
People don't intervene. Oh, that's not my business. No. I don't want to get involved.
Those are the first ones crying over the casket.
Yes.
I wish I was there.
You wouldn't have did nothing if you were there.
Same people, so we talk that shit online after the fact, but we're not serious about this stuff beforehand. We're just not, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of been shielding myself from these type of stories, because
saving your energy.
Some of these people, they're just it's like, this is a mental health situation. And some of those comments lead me to believe that some of y'all got mental health issues.
Exactly. Some ain't right. It's okay to have hurt feelings.
Yeah.
Don't hurt yourself or others. But she used that magic word incel, and I'm sure I don't know if you know what that is, but that's the involuntary celibate dudes. And I found out that a lady actually started the movement, and the dudes took it over. But the main reason I came on here today is, if you with Kevin Samuels and all those other people becoming mainstream, becoming the face of the Manosphere, the representative for all these dudes, it's getting a little bit scary, because there has been several articles that have been put out. It started back in, I think, 2012. They had already started building a case, and I'm kind of afraid that the black men are becoming the face of this movement, and it's another reason for us to be targeted and profiled, and we're falling right into it. That's my opinion. But this was the first article I saw. The date at the top is not the date for this article. This one was done, I believe, back in 2020. But misogyny and the Manosphere spreading to playgrounds and its terror a threat, the author said. So that article basically went through how the kids were in the chat rooms on the internet using the Manosphere and these different groups to, learn their manhood. And what it was tied to was, let me wait on that. Then the more recent article, this one they gave, they said that this is when they wait for the black woman to write an article to say the manosphere went mainstream. It's always a black woman, right? This black woman, so the other one was for 2020. This one was, I think, from January of this year. Yep, January 25th. My brush with the black manosphere. So she went on a Zoom date, and the dude jumped on the Zoom and started going in on, let me see, going in on how black women weren't this, black women weren't that. Mind you, he's on the Zoom date, right? And she came to this conclusion. So she met this guy, and this is what she came to the conclusion of. According to Aaron Fountain Jr., a PhD candidate, so they're studying this stuff at Indiana University. It's less about incels in the case of black men than the manosphere, a more racially diverse space on the internet that includes men of all ages and has developed its own offshoot, the black manosphere. Within the black manosphere's fiefdom, there are many subgroups, rival influencers, competing philosophies, and a myriad of content creators. But each of them contain one common thread: a concerted, explicit disdain for black women. Super duper strong words, right? So what really made me be like, oh crap. So you got to follow where it's going. First they're like, oh, it's dangerous to the kids. Now it's dangerous to the women. Now the black men are the face of it. And now this is the most recent one. So incel violence, misogynistic extremism on the rise, Secret Service warning. So these people now have created a 26-page report. I'm not going to read the 26 pages. Don't worry. We ain't got time today. So the new Secret Service report released on Tuesday details that the growing threat of violent attacks towards women from men who call themselves involuntary celibates or incels. The 26-page report was published by the Secret Service and focuses on deadly examples of recent incel-related attacks on women. So when you get deeper into the report, it's not describing a people. It's not describing anything. They're doing it real slick. It literally describes the ideology of the manosphere and saying the same way they did with the red, black, and green.
Mm-hmm.
They're now doing it with the manosphere. And the loudest and the most visible is going to become the face of it. So that's where my question for this show came from. Is the manosphere in trouble? What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I worked in government my whole life. Mm-hmm. These people they put money behind think tanks to come up with. They put money behind think tanks and these different types of focus groups to come up with different theories and different verbiage on how to tear down groups, black men, or a particular person, right? When I think about that, I think about how Fred Hampton was murdered in the confines of his home in his sleep in the middle of the night. So back then they were doing it brazenly to take out the face of an organization or leader. Now in this day and time, they do it kind of under the auspice of a certain theory leading up to, which is why you see those different reports and different dates.
Exactly.
They lead up to it. So I've seen that throughout history. Well, my history, where they because at the same time, when you get to a certain status and you have a real organic following based off foundational beliefs, based off some type of truth, what happens?
You have a movement.
You got a movement, but you got all these previously bankrupt white media companies trying to come tear it down. Right? And now you got some quote from the Secret Service like, why the Secret Service, last time I checked, you cared about counterfeit money, dignitaries. Why are you even in that?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's a setup, and I feel like they're running straight into it. And although a lot of the, like I said, the intel groups and all those, they're it's Caucasian men.
Exactly.
And but black men are coming in the face of it. It's yet another way for it's like you're running straight into it. And I don't know if they realize it or whatever. I mean, I have my own personal thoughts or whatever about the men's rights and all that other stuff. Like I believe everybody is supposed to have their rights. I think people are taking it too far left. I want to state now that I am not a feminist. So when they start doing all that feminist stuff, I'm like, I don't know why you coming at me, because that's not me. Because I don't feel like black women really benefited, and some of my friends are feminists, and I let them my stance be known. I don't feel like we benefited from that movement, so I do not consider myself one. I do believe we should get equal pay, no pay gap, all that stuff. I do not believe that men and women are the same because we're built biologically different. We different things like that. So I guess I can't deem myself a feminist, but I think with men just looking for some. It's almost like when they were joining the gangs and stuff. Men looking for father figures, a place to express their feelings. I was teasing my friends. They were expressing their feelings and they were really ticking off the chicks in the chat. And I always tell them, like, that's them different disenfranchised boys, because they're always saying some right is being taken away from them. So I was teasing them a little bit. But I mean, we hear you, we understand you got feelings too, but I feel like this is growing into something, and he might not be being done on purpose, but it's like you're rolling down this path. Like, what is the government doing there? And it's because that one young man that attacked those ladies at the, I think it was the massage parlors or whatever. He deemed himself involuntary celibate, and so since they lumped it all together, ta-da! Profiling.
I've seen this story before.
Yeah, profiling.
Seen this story before.
So that's what that's where I wanted to end up. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Is there any other input you think about? What do you think about my thoughts? Like, I don't know.
I mean, you were spot on. And I'll just use Kevin Samuels' example again. If you notice in all his verbiage, he keeps it very practical, and he doesn't go into the space of conspiracy theories too much. He does it for a reason. I think that as this movement, what I want to happen is I want this particular movement to really grow, so that there's not just one person being the face of it.
Okay.
That's what I want to see happen.
Well, let me ask you, what is the ideal? Okay, if this movement got everything it wanted, what would the ideal be for, I guess, relationships? I guess female behavior. Like, what exactly would be the ideal?
I mean, for me, is mental health therapy and getting black families back together.
Okay.
I mean, that's the core of what that particular platform talks about. I mean, that's it. That's it right there. I mean,
so you think that telling black women that they're the least desirable, I'm not saying you, that they're the least desirable, or if they're too educated, they won't, their value drops on the market, or if they have too many kids, not too many kids, if they have kids, I know it depends on the number of baby daddies, all that jazz, or the sexual desirability, that will work to bring the family back together? Or do you think that's like characteristics to strive for so that you'll be desirable so somebody will commit to you? I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
The whole education thing, like, I'm mixed on that. My thing is, I'm about economics. And if you're really about economics, it can't all be about traditional education. When you're going to take out a loan for $100,000 to pay a white university to graduate to make $45,000. So we got to start thinking practically when it comes to that. So I don't think you should be spending 8 to 15 years in school and you ain't got no husband, no kids.
Mm.
Ain't nothing wrong with getting your bachelor's. Nothing wrong with getting your master's. But I just think we have to start really thinking practically if we want the black family to survive.
Mm-hmm.
The black family not going to survive if you've been in school from 19 to 32.
The irony of that situation is you don't really know my educational background, but the irony of the situation is when I was in college, there was a young lady who was from the motherland, and I remember so distinctly because we were in school together, and I was in a serious relationship on the way to marriage. Marriage totally happened, and she was still dating and wasn't sure about the prospects. And I remember her mother saying so clearly, a couple of African mothers did this. They were saying, they were like, don't let that degree level get too high without getting somebody. Don't let that degree level get too high without getting somebody. And they kind of looked to me because I had somebody, right? And they're like, look at V. She got
that's the
somebody.
perfect scenario to have somebody and have what you've been trying to strive for. That's a great scenario.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it played out how it played out, but I'm never going to take away from the fact that at the time when everything was going, not trying to be funny, but somebody yesterday was like, you guys were like the Cosbys. I mean, it was a thing, right? It was a thing. It worked. Yeah. So I'm never going to downplay that.
You gotta make it work.
So,
and that's the thing. I think that statement is how do we make it work? No matter how much education you're going to get, how long you're waiting. We talk about time. How is it going to work? And how are you going to get to that point? I think that's the question we got to ask ourselves. So I'm not the one that, I think there was a imbalance on some older black women who taught so much independence to their younger daughters. Nothing wrong with being independent because at some points in life you have to be independent, but you don't want to be independent to the point where you're pricing yourself out to loneliness. And that's like I see some of these women on their 40, on these day naps, like you 53, ain't never been married, no kids. Like
well, not every woman wants to have kids.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. Yeah. I mean, originally, I thought I was gonna be the rich auntie that came and strolled through for Christmas.
Me too. I did too.
But it went a different way.
Yep. I thought the same thing.
That's the best. I mean, they're the best thing that ever happened to me. But I feel like I'm just gonna speak on myself. I feel like it's hard to balance because you have some dudes who say they want you to go 50-50. They don't want to provide. They don't want to do all this stuff. But then when you go and get the degree to supposedly bring that 50-50, which I do not believe in, talk about that another time. I hate it. As soon as you say 50-50, I'm walking away. I'm out. You ain't got to worry about me. It's time for me to go. So I do not believe 50-50. So it's a balance. Like it goes back to that whole gold digger thing. Is like, okay, you don't want to provide for me, but if I provide for myself, I'm too independent. I don't believe in being too independent. I don't believe in that strong black woman trope. I always say this, I always tease. I'm like, man, we tired. We exhausted. We tired. It takes a lot to be a strong black woman. It takes a lot. The same way you guys are looking for peace, we're looking for rest, man. We're looking for a place to sit down.
On a strong black family. That's the key. That's the key. And how do we get there?
Well, before we close it out, we want to give some final words on the whole. We had an amazing talk. I really enjoyed having this talk with you. Super intelligent. It's always a good banter. I think we both like to research and read. When you said documentary, my heart was like, I love documentaries. I had to get away from the crime documentaries because it was getting too dark, but I love a good documentary. So it's always a good exchange, and I'm always intrigued by your political background and everything, and your story. And plus, you're from a whole totally different place. I'm a Florida girl, born and raised, not in Dade, but anyway, not
Comes
in
down there. I'm telling you, 3.5 years.
Mhm. But you want to leave some final words?
I just say, I use this all the time. Black men, black women, be calculated.
Mm.
You have to be calculated in our decision making. Um, that's the only way we're going to get past the problems that we face. And if we're serious about rebuilding the strong black family, then that's the way it's got to be.
I totally agree. I think we need to stop. I was amazed by what you said in the beginning. We've been doing it all wrong. Instead of trying to support each other, grow each other, figure out what each other needs, we're all trying to get what we need only. And that is not conducive to combining and growing and building a family. I'm totally with what you were saying about uh, waiting too late to get started with your family. You know, there's circumstances where you can't help it. But if you can, like learning to get our young folks to interact with each other where they're not just using each other for their bodies or misusing their bodies and actually growing and loving each other. We need to get back to loving each other. So on the Manosphere stuff, I really hope that if the goals that you said are truly the goals, I mean that's not a bad set of goals. It's the misunderstanding, and the the I guess I want to say propaganda that's being put out there, and it looks like it's going to be used for something that might not be so great. All I can do is pray for those folks, and hopefully, there's been lots of movements that have been hijacked, and hopefully this one doesn't go too far left if it isn't already there. And with that being said, thank you so much for joining me. I had an amazing time on this live. Thank you everyone else for joining me. I can't wait to put this up. This was an amazing video and I'm super proud of it. Thank you, Jay Moore from In Perspective TV. Please check out his channel. You want to say anything else you do?
No, we good. Looking forward to working with you in the
Mm.
near future.
Yep.
It's always a fun time to talk with you.
All right. And good night, everybody. Love who loves you.
Thank you.
TV Scholar out. And Jay Moore out.
Yes. Peace.